Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So in today's video, as you can tell by the title, we'll be talking about a very strong and insane storm system. And this one is unique in so many aspects, but it is also so concerning in twice as many. It is a system that I haven't seen in a while across the kind of the strength of it across the United States. Not necessarily, again, in terms of its precipitation types and or forms, but because of its more indirect impact that you typically would think maybe with the winter storm. It's not the snowfall, it's not necessarily the rain, but it's the extreme winds. And yes, there's always a talk of winds usually with certain certain storms and certain systems, but this one is just the wind storm of fall and winter 2021 across the United States. Not to mention, it did drop absolutely historic amounts of snow for the portions of the Sierra Nevada, into portions of Utah, into or I shouldn't say Utah because they will see snow, but it's not as significant as California did. It is snowing currently across Utah, Nevada, and it will kind of continue spreading into, say, Arizona, Colorado, and speed across the plains and Midwest. There's a lot to talk about, but I think that it's going to be very fun and exciting to discuss, and I'll show you what the biggest threats are in just a minute. So before we do that, if you guys are new to this channel, first off, hello, welcome. Hopefully you enjoy, hopefully you do check out the channel, and if you do, consider subscribing if you do enjoy it, and liking the video. If you have any comments or concerns, please leave them down below. Otherwise, let's start talking about this winter storm. So, again, a lot of description used for this storm that can be used, but it's pretty much everything. I mean, obviously, the legendary snow and rain amounts, I said that they're not as significant for the Midwest, but oh boy, is that a different story for portions of the Southwest. The snowfall totals, I saw a few, were in a 70-inch range for the Sierra Nevada. That does happen, right? But especially given that it was in the La Nina year, it was expected to be a drier season. Such a beast is really a good thing in terms of the long term. Obviously not for the short term. There are floodings that are occurring. There have been high water rescues. There has been a lot of downed trees, very significant snowfall, some of it damaging. Obviously a lot of pileups, or not pileups, but accidents and whatnot. So it's an impactful storm to say the least, and it's not nearly being done with. So as I mentioned, let's take a look at all these advisories. This is almost 110% to do with basically that system, this single one that we're looking at. Now, if you're not familiar with this map, you may be wondering what on earth are all these brown colors. And in fact, you probably are under it if you're watching it because, it covers a vast majority of the, or a good majority of the country. I shouldn't say majority, but the central and western United States. So those are wind warnings. And they're not just like, oh, it's going to be breezy. It's going to be gusty. If you take a look at some of these areas, you would see that it's a dangerous wind event. It's not just a concerning one at this point. It's a dangerous, likely. Some of these wind gusts could be look at that. Forecast winds are sustained 40 to 50. Just for reference, that's equivalent of a tropical storm that you would usually see. And a gust in excess of 75 miles per hour and exceeding 85, that's hurricane force winds right there. And obviously this isn't a hurricane, but it's a monster system. And these things aren't localized. They are widespread. As you can see, those wind gusts all of Iowa into Wisconsin, into Minnesota, further south. Look at Des Moines. Tomorrow, wind gusts 70. That would be extremely concerning because those wind gusts usually occur during severe thunderstorms, but this is just statewide. So yes, wind damage is going to be a certainty across much of the United States. The panhandles of both Texas, Oklahoma. Not only are obviously the winds extremely high, but it is also very dry. And with winds, and you know how a fire spreads, you have dry conditions, you have a little spark, and that thing blows up. And that's why there are also extreme wildfire risks, especially for the grassland areas. So, not good. And just a bunch of concerns. Obviously, the snowfall and rainfall is a huge concern for the Southwest. You could see that some of these snow amount probabilities for even the low southern areas of California are decently high, just north of, the Grapevine, just northeast, up to, 14 to 20 inches of snowfall. Definitely good amounts of snow. And you could see that they are kind of describing this event in as many forms as they can, as there is so much snow to talk about. Let me click on, say, right here, Las Vegas, and I just want to show you some of these rainfall amounts that are possible. Up to half an inch for Vegas, which isn't extraordinary by itself, but pretty good information. It has been very dry, but the mountain snow is going to be even more significant. Wait, I just clicked there. Let's take a look at Utah, right? The Salt Lake City office. Again, there is a large probability of a decent to very moderate heavy snowfall event, and that is already pretty much occurring. You can see 7 to 11 today, to 1 to 2, around an inch, and then another system Thursday, 1 to 3. It's going to be a snowy week, and of course, there's a potential for a blizzard across the northern plains with this snowfall, where we have equally as strong winds combined with even stronger, with also snow. So the snow by itself may not be massive, but with such a strong wind threat, blizzard conditions are going to be issued, and winter weather advisories will be issued even for very small snow events. So this is all in, this is all perspective. So that's the National Weather Service. Let's take a look at the system, and this is why I think a lot of people may underestimate a lot of this system, especially kind of people that just look at the weather radar and be like, oh, well, it's not a lot of precip or snow. It's not going to be a significant event, and you couldn't be any further from the truth. So let's run through this. Obviously, very loaded with precip, dumps a ton of moisture. But out here, there are a few obviously weird things about it. How there are extremely tight isobars, right? That again is contributing to those winds. They are blowing from the south, which is why it could get up to 70 degrees in portions of Illinois, Iowa, Wisconsin tomorrow. And we do also have a very strong potential for some nasty storms. These aren't going to be tornadic most likely, but again, damaging winds aside from those that will be occurring statewide. Hail, and obviously lightning and thunder that comes with the threat of any regular old thunderstorm. And look at that. That is not too impressive by itself. It's rather quick moving, but it is falling in very heavy winds. So this will be occurring at, blizzard conditions nonetheless will be just taking hold across much of the Dakotas into Minnesota. It is extremely strong by itself. This doesn't look like a monster, but it is. The wind field of this thing is massive. It's contributing to, again, a little bit of snow, a little bit of rain, but it's, again, you can't just measure everything based off those amounts. You could see northern Minnesota, Duluth, Wisconsin picking up decent amounts of rain. Snow also falling pretty intensely across the northern United States, though it is quick moving. Those wind gusts are nothing shy of what a blizzard will look like for those locations. And you can see that the cold front from this system does eventually stall out across the areas that were just so hard hit with that severe weather, contributing to more rain and potentially flooding, and that could actually develop into another system that we'll have to be watching into this upcoming weekend. So a lot of concern, guys. And I do want to note, right, while you see this guy spinning away that just havocked Southern California, Nevada, the Southwest, look at this. Another system comes through. Not as strong, but it does drop up to another 2 feet of snow for the mountains and up to an inch of rainfall for the Northern California area. All in all, again, total snowfall isn't all too impressive. 48 hours, you could see that we do have, according to this model, a kind of a mix of potentially up to 4 to 6 inches of snow, I would say. Again, that may not sound significant, but with those winds blowing, you will prefer a foot plus event of snow over even a 6-inch nasty system like this with those winds. I'm telling you guys, we haven't seen a system like this in probably a few years, if honestly, in my remembrance. And again, these systems are unpredictable oftentimes, and we have such a large area of the country covered with such strong winds of 70 mile per hour plus. That is concerning, guys. I mean, it's concerning. 70 mile per hour wind gusts, especially around Christmas time, Christmas decorations, lawn decorations, holiday, whatever. It's gonna go flying if it's not secured. So please secure it. Obviously, if you can, take it indoors, but that is really not a feasible option for many. But you can see rainfall is going to be occurring. It's just not as significant as you might think, as with the system of this power. You can see definitely still additional amounts of snow and rain for the Southwest, kind of Utah, Nevada, Arizona, Colorado. It's mainly done for California, this system, while again we do have another one moving in. Let's take a look at the total snowfall. You can see very high amounts for the mountains just west of Salt Lake City, just east of Salt Lake City, the Grand Tetons, Wyoming, decent amounts, Colorado, nothing too extraordinary, but it's there. but generally in the next few hours, Nevada's going to get pounded. But again, once it moves out here, not insane amounts of snow, but those winds are going to make it insane. And I may sound very enthusiastic about this and whatnot. It's because I am. You could see, I just, again, this right here has been just added. This isn't over with. They're still adding counties. You can see how there's that little Milwaukee office that still doesn't have their counties added. It's either they will add a wind advisory or they're still considering whether or not it will be a wind watch. For my area, they added a wind watch, which means a wind warning. We haven't had that in over 2 years, a high wind warning. And of this magnitude, I would have to really dig into the records for a criteria such as this. And sometimes people don't, these things are scary. Sometimes these winds can just devastate portions of neighborhoods with just a few trees being downed. And hopefully at this time the best thing you can hope for is that you have strong trees, right? What a great guarantee to hold on to. But notice that even these light grays, those are not high wind warnings, those are wind advisories, which still have potential to be damaging. You could see some of these areas have 20 to 35 mile per hour wind gusts up to 45, which again is just shy of a severe thunderstorm warning criteria. And a lot of these plains areas are in high wind warning. So yes, this is a very impactful storm nonetheless. Again, it may not seem like it if you were to just take a look at its precipitation. Let me go and take a look at this model for you that I showed you, that I was demonstrating to you its strength. But let me time it out hour by hour for you. I know a lot of folks want to know, when will this thing hit me? When will, whatnot? And it's hard because I have, again, such a large area to cover. But notice, this is what it is right now, 3 p.m. This is Central Standard Time, so add an hour or two depending on where you live, what time zone. And let's play this forward, hour by hour. Notice that by today in the afternoon, it moves out of Nevada, pushes into Utah. During the overnight hours today, shifts into Colorado, and really by tomorrow morning, by around 11:10, it's already out of the southwest. It's going to be, while it's there, it's going to be delivering heavy amounts of snow and rain, and definitely those potent winds. But once it reaches the plains, it's really where it kind of just goes wild. It becomes a savage system. Lack of better description. By 12 p.m. tomorrow, which is noon, we do see this system starting to gather its strength. It's again the low pressure is intensifying. The winds are converging into it, which is why these winds are so strong, mainly because of how low that pressure is. And notice that we do have very significant snow on the backside of it occurring for only a brief few hours, which is why those snowfall amounts will be rather limited. But we do also have a few thunderstorms, which again, some of them could be nasty, developing across Iowa, Missouri, and into Kansas. Again, Kansas City, Des Moines, right tomorrow in the evening. Watch out for this. Same thing with Minneapolis, though maybe a bit less severe, just mainly a kind of a localized flooding event, or flood threat, I should say, because though again, the thing is that, these by themselves wouldn't cause flooding because of how quick they are, but with the snow and the frozen ground you have across those locations after seeing 2 feet of snow with the past system, that may cause a bit of backlog and not as good drainage. But notice the system continues producing snow. The Dakotas, right, Blizzard Alley, a pretty appropriate location for that to be occurring. Notice there is some snow across the northeast tomorrow, a bit of rain further east earlier throughout the day, but then by tomorrow in the evening, this line of storms pushes into Illinois, approaching Chicago, the Quad Cities, St. Louis. It's still snowing across the northern United States, and it's still snowing across the northeast and raining, depending again on your location tomorrow late at night. During the overnight hours, the winds do calm down for, say, Nebraska, Kansas, but they are going absolutely, to the point of insanity across Wisconsin, Minnesota, Michigan, the UP of Michigan, mainland Michigan, and southern Canada. We do also at the same time tomorrow, which is really early, I should say not tomorrow, at this point early Thursday, we have a system moving in onto the west. It's already well underway. The Bitterroots, the Cascades, northern Nevada, Sierra Nevada, again picking up good amounts of snowfall, though not as significant as with this first system. And then this system does end up kind of, if you will, going away with all of its rain and precipitation, but we do still have significant winds across the northern Great Lakes at this time frame, which is much of the day Thursday. And look, decent snows and rain for Maine, and eventually that all does convert into rainfall. But all in all, again, total snowfall from the system, not overly impressive, but you can see decent amounts for the Northeast right there across the Midwest and the Southwest, but that's a combination of both those systems. Let's take a look at other models. Right, NAM 3KM, you can see it shows decent amounts for a good portion of the Southwest with this. Does show actually a pocket of very heavy snow, and that's the concerning thing with this. I do think there could be some banding with this. Even though it's quick, that snowfall rates may be very extreme, and I think a quick 6 inches in some localized amounts are possible, but that band will be narrow, and it's nearly impossible to predict. You could see the NAM 3KM newest model run does definitely show that threat in terms of its total accumulated precipitation. It does obviously show quite a bit of rain, and where those thunderstorms do occur, there could definitely be a threat of that. And you can see this only goes out to 39 hours, so it's still kind of hanging out at this point across the Great Lakes. If I were to show you the radar range / frozen right there, you could still see that's a much stronger system than what the HER model showed, which is the model I just showed you prior to this model that I'm showing you currently. And let's just watch this one. You can see it's a lot stronger. It's the millibar pressure is about the same, but it just has more moisture, and it has stronger storms potentially, and a lot more of that snowy side to it, which again we'll have to watch for. And again, if I were to take a look at that total snowfall, takes us out there. You can see decent amounts right there. NAM 12KM, another good model that I like to look at. The most recent model run shows increased snowfall for the Midwest, decent for the Maine, Vermont, and New Hampshire area. And of course, all of them show strong winds, which you can't see just by looking at the total accumulated or snowfall forecast. But yes, you could see those are significant risks. Take a look at that FV3 high res. This is a high resolution model, usually for say severe weather, which tomorrow it's applicable. So let's take a glance. Again, timing is very similar with all the models. By today, late in the afternoon, it's mostly done with California, moving into Nevada, Utah, even exiting Nevada into Arizona. It does pick up speed by the time it reaches, say, Utah, Salt Lake, and yes, it does drop a lot of precip, but by tomorrow morning, it's mainly done in the mountains. It's now across the Midwest, does develop that severe weather across Iowa into tomorrow in the afternoon. There's that blizzard, there's that severe weather, and decent amounts of rain, and you can see that it reaches cities like Chicago, Milwaukee, Green Bay by late tomorrow, and that snowy side to it is definitely mostly present across Minnesota, North Dakota, and I should say this is mainly in northwestern Minnesota, and look at that in the Northeast, again, picking up decent amounts kind of from that warm advection side of this system. Again, there's our second system moving into the California area. Total snowfall from this model, very similar. You can see it shows that narrow path of up to 5 to 6 inches. Anywhere else, nothing too big. But again, that is quite a bit considering that there will be nasty, nasty winds. Those drifts, even with 6 inches of snowfall, could be approaching 2 to 3 feet in isolated locations, which you may think is almost impossible to even produce. But with 6 inches of snowfall, a 3-foot drift under 70-mile-per-hour wind gust is most definitely a reasonable prediction. And so I already showed you the snowfall. I wanted to click on the precipitation. Boom, there it is. You can see rather significant, even with that rain threat, as it starts to slow down, that front could become more significant. So definitely a concern. Canadian model, this is a more global model, not really high res. It's more kind of large scale, so a bit more inaccurate. But what it does do, it takes it further towards the south, so basically taps into more moisture, creating a more heavy rain event for the Midwest. And not by much, but definitely a concern. If that does happen, it could be a bit more impactful with that pretty much sideways wind or sideways blowing rain and snow, obviously, but still an impactful system from pretty much any model you look at. Now, in the future, you can see all models do keep the activity going, and that's kind of what I want to quickly touch on, is the activity in the future, because you think that this is an active, pattern, and you're right, it is, but look what happens here. Boom, there's our first storm, right? You may think that's it for the West. They got slammered. Nope. Early next week, there's a threat for a massive system, a multi-day storm across the southwest. Now you may be wondering, didn't it just get done with the system? And yes, that's true, but this one could be even bigger. And look what this does. Again, about a week from now, it's a multi-day event, a significant one, delivering quite a bit of precipitation for the rest of the country. Again, the models don't really know what to do with that. But, how I said that there are locations that have seen 70 to 80 inches of snowfall with the previous event. There are estimates that in the next 10 to 15 days, according to, say, the GFS, there could be as much as an additional 100 to 200, maybe even over 200 inches in the highest highest peaks of areas across the Sierra, 200 inches of snow additionally. So that is obviously very concerning if that were to occur. Obviously, that would produce also copious amounts of rainfall, which wouldn't necessarily be the best case scenario. But that's kind of, again, not really from this storm that I'm talking about right now. It's just a more long-term thing to watch for. It's been consistent though in the models, which is a bit concerning. Again, these warnings, these watches, these advisories are coming in hard. They're continually getting updated, and you could see that Iowa, a lot of these Midwest ones are already in a high wind warning, not necessarily even a watch, which again is kind of a bit less imminent. When you have a watch and warning, means that it's pretty much there, and it's time to it's done preparing. Or you have it's kind of time to hunker down, and you can see it's 30 to 40 sustained with gusts up to 70, which is honestly quite frightening. We haven't seen an event like this in a long while. So yeah, that's basically all I have for you today. Again, this system right now, if I were to show you the radar, which I could show you the National Weather Service one, you could see it. I mean, look at all these advisories, warnings. They're just peppering this map, almost making it impossible to look at. But let's see if I could turn off the the alerts. I don't really use this radar as much, so I don't know how to turn off the layers quite exactly, especially when there's this much. But I mean, yeah, look at this, look at that spread. And again, if you could see those greenish colors, that's where the precip is right now. It's still right here. By tomorrow in the morning, it will be already out into the plains, and that's when the rest is gonna obviously be occurring. I don't know what this pink color is. I'm assuming that, yeah, what is that alert? Okay, that's a civil emergency message. Yeah, I was assuming that's not really weather related. Yeah, you can see red flag warnings. That's the other thing. The fire danger is obviously quite high, and we'll just have to watch for obviously the lakes, for example, for traveling boats, whatever. It's pretty much going to be unpassable if you have such strong winds already on land, let alone areas of water. So don't even try doing any sort of boating on the lakes if you have it over the next few days. So yeah, that's basically it for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I hopefully you learned something new. Hopefully you know that this beast is coming, in fact, because your forecast, you may just look at it and be like, oh, there's not much snow or rain. Again, it's going to be the winds with this for much of the country, versus the more of the precip side of it, which was more of the southwest, which it's still a very big side of it, but again, it's more at this point more of the winds, as that has already kind of occurred. All right, thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed, hopefully you learned something new, and I'll catch you all on the next episode. See ya. Bye.